thanks so much for joining us this evening, and I'm delighted to be joined by Ker, who's the MD of Ker Downey Botswana. As I mentioned, she's actually joining us from Maun in Botswana, and both she and I are sitting in the dark, but hopefully with so many Americans joining us, you're joining us with slightly more sunlight with you. As is always the case, we are recording this webinar, so if you have to leave, don't panic. You will be sent a copy of the recording as well as our agents link with lots of really useful information in it, including our brand new video that we showed at our 2 o'clock webinar this afternoon as an exclusive, which you'll be watching shortly. So if you do have any questions, then please write them in the Q&A box, and Fran would be delighted to answer them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Fran, and thanks so much for joining us. And Fran, over to you.
Hi, good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for signing up and tuning in. Before I start on the presentation, I have an introduction to make. So I'm not here on my own. I've actually got James Connolly. He is our new sales manager. So you will definitely be hearing more from him, seeing him hopefully in your offices soon, or at a trade show, or indeed in the bush, because Saturday he's heading into the camps to host a whole bunch of agents that are coming over for trade shows and fam trips. So I'm sure you will get to meet him in person at some stage. The presentation that I'm doing this evening is actually quite different to the previous Ker Downey Botswana presentations that I have done. I've kind of changed the approach, and my motivation around that was to really focus on what makes Ker Downey Botswana unique, what makes us special, the kind of different things that we have to offer, as opposed to going through camp by camp and going into the specifics of each property. If you would like me to go into the specifics of each property, more than happy to do a kind of product training where we go through all of that. You're more than welcome to reach out to Anita and her team at Small World Marketing. Equally, if you want to look at Botswana as a destination as a whole, the Africa Hub's got some great resources for that as well. And then James and I are always at your disposal. So just reach out to us and let us know, and we can go through camp specific. But this evening is a little bit more of an overview, a little bit of getting a flavor of Ker Downey and who we are and what we're about. So for those of you that are new to the brand, we've been operating for over 50 years in the country. We're 100% locally owned and run. As Anita mentioned, we are in Botswana. We're actually in the reservations office, although everybody is at home with their families at the moment. So the different elements that I've broken down the brand into include our locations, so where we operate, the physical locations, the activities that we offer, the different styles and types of camps that we have, and then a really, really critical element is our people. So I'll go into a little bit of detail about that as well. Just a refresher on our properties and where they're located. So we're in northern Botswana. We have camps in the Okavango Delta, in the Moremi Game Reserve, and down in the central Kalahari. So looking into our locations and why Ker Downey Botswana is essentially a one-stop shop. We can offer a great variety of different locations. So we have private concessions, which is Shinde and Kanana, and these are in the Delta, in the heart of the Delta, in what we would term prime real estate areas, incredible wildlife areas. Then we have a private conservancy, so keeping that theme of exclusivity. And Dinaka is in our private conservancy, and that's down in the Kalahari. So you've got these Okavango Delta properties, and you've got this Kalahari property. So there's a huge contrast between those different locations. And then we also have the Moremi Game Reserve, which is on so many people's bucket lists. It's world renowned for its wildlife experience. It actually has the highest level of protection here in Botswana because it is the epicenter of that wildlife experience. So all of these areas offer diversity. And when I talk about diversity, I mean the ecology of the area, the wildlife, the sightings, the species that you're going to see. So this great shot here we took a couple of weeks ago down at Dinaka. So you see it's quite dry and arid and scrub-like area. And then you've got the iconic scenes of the delta, the twisty-turny, meandering channels where you've got the wetland meeting the dryland, and that conference creates an incredible landscape for the wildlife. Because we're in these different areas, we are also able to offer a really wide variety of activities. So pretty much everything that you can do in northern Botswana, we can offer within our camps. So we've got the more traditional activities, your land and water-based activities. So on the land, we've got the game drives. We do night drives. We do proper night drives where you actually head out after dinner, you know, 9:30-ish out into the darkness to go see the nocturnal species in the area. We also do walking safaris. I'll go into a little bit more detail about walking safaris because it's quite a special element. And I think really growing in popularity is this more kind of getting out there on foot, a more immersive experience when you go on a walking safari. Then moving over to the water, we do boat cruises, we do Mokoro excursions, which is completely unique to the Delta. The Mokoro is a traditional form of transport and a must-do activity for anybody that's coming over to Botswana. We also do fishing, which can be so much fun. It can be for beginners or keen fishermen. There's no greater way to spend an afternoon with an ice cold beer in your hand and a fishing rod in the other. Really lovely for families as well. It's amazing how family dynamics and family competition come into play when you're out on a fishing trip. And then we have some area specific highlights in the activities. So at Kanana, we've got the heronry. Down at Dinaka, we do the educational walks with the sand bushmen. It's quite a challenge actually weaving in a bit of culture into your itinerary when you're on safari in Botswana, but down at Dinaka, there's a really great experience to be had down there. And then also family activities, which I'll go into a little bit more detail about. But all of these activities, the pivotal and the central point of it is the wildlife and your game viewing. It's a given, you know, you're coming to Botswana to go on safari, to get out there in the bush. And that is our focus. That's our priority, getting our guests out there with the guides so that they can have the best sightings and the best experiences. So he talks about these different modes of transport, everything from a game drive vehicle to a Mokoro, and then a really unique element and something that I think should be included in every itinerary because it's just so awesome, is going on a scenic flight in a helicopter. We do doors off scenic flights. It's just a really different way, a different vantage point of seeing this incredible ecosystem and going to some areas that are completely inaccessible by vehicle or by foot, and really quite affordable. So as I say, I love it. If it was me, I would include it in every single itinerary that I would sell to guests. That's a little bit about the different activities. Also an important element and something that's quite unique is our vehicle policy. I believe we are one of the only companies that guarantees window seats and guarantees maximum 4 people on a vehicle. This really adds to the experience. With families, we can accommodate 5, 6, even 7 guests on the same vehicle, so they can all stay together. It's then their choice if they want to do that. So guaranteed window seats. Each window seat has a camera mount. So many of our guests are really keen photographers, often having the big lenses, but actually these camera mounts are even great for your iPhone photographer. When you're super excited and you're trying to take a video and you're so excited your camera's going everywhere, you can use the camera mount and the camera rest for that as well. You're spending a lot of time on the vehicle, so it's really important that they are comfortable, customized, you've got everything where you need it. Then moving on to our people. They really are the heart and soul of our company, heart and soul of the experience that our guests are getting in our camps. And we very much realized that we would not be the company that we are without our people. And we have such a great commitment to our people. And so much is done in terms of empowerment, upskilling, training, mentoring. It's just an integral part of how we run the business and part of our company culture. It's so many of our own personal stories within senior management. So many of us have moved our way up through the ranks, and we want the same for those that are coming and following behind us. We have really great staff retention. So never mind the fact that we kept everybody through COVID, but prior to that as well, you know, we've got some staff members that are over 4 decades with Ker Downey Botswana. And it makes a difference. You can't fake that warm, friendly smile, and the guests feel it. I read so many of the guest questionnaires, and they will talk about specific individuals in the camp, and they'll talk about how, you know, nothing was too much trouble for the staff, the attention to detail. The atmosphere in the camps is so warm, friendly, down to earth. You truly do feel part of the Ker Downey family after spending a little bit of time with us. We're also really focusing on our female empowerment. So in the camps, we've got 50% female management. But then when you move into town and you move into base here, into senior management, we're actually just over 70% female management here in base. Because a big focus is the wildlife and going out in the environment, the guides play a critical role. And we have a really great team of guides, so well-rounded, really well-skilled, and not just on their knowledge of the flora and fauna, but also on their soft skills and how to look after guests. We do a lot of training with our guides. We also have some specialist guides as well that do the walking safaris and the family safaris. Then moving on to our camps. So the how can I say, the kind of guys out there that really know Ker Downey well, they will spot some subtle differences here. So what we've actually done is we've taken our portfolio and we've split it into 2. So we have the 5-star properties like Shinde, Okuti, Dinaka, Kanana, and they are categorized as our heritage camps. Heritage really resonated with us in terms of our longevity operating in the destination, but also the style and theme and decor and feel in the camps. The second area that we have is our footsteps camps. Those of you that know Ker Downey well, you will know Footsteps Across the Delta, Young Explorers run out of the Footsteps camp that's based at Shinde. So we've actually slightly rebranded that. Going forward, it will be known as Shinde Footsteps. The reason for this is to make way and make space for more properties like this existing camp. So going forward and coming soon, in the process of being made, we also have Dinaka Footsteps and Kanana Footsteps. So I will keep you updated on when that's happening, how that's happening, the new camps. Things do take a bit of time here in Botswana. The environment is really important. We have to do a lot of assessments and really make sure that we're going about it the right way. And so that will take a bit of time, but I will keep you in the loop with that. As for Shinde Footsteps, our last guest actually leaving today, and camp will be closed down and we are rebuilding the camp. We're doing that now through the green season. So December, January, February, March, we will be rebuilding the camp, ready to welcome the first guests at the beginning of April. So with the rebuild of Footsteps, we are very much keeping this kind of barefoot luxury. It's all about the intimate experience. They're going to be small camps, so maximum 6 people. We're keeping the heart and soul, the essence of what has made Footsteps great to date. You know, we really feel that this is a special product. Personally, I think it's probably my favorite property, although I can't have favorites. It's like having a favorite child, but it's such an incredible place, incredible location, incredible vibe at camp. We want to keep all of those lovely, lovely things, but work on the infrastructure. So upgrading the guest accommodation. So you've got a beautiful ensuite bathroom. We are going to keep some of the rustic elements, like your outdoor shower will be a bucket shower. There's definitely a fan club for such things, and we're embracing all of that. We're also making it more accessible. So in the past, where it's pretty much been a family camp or a walking camp, we can now take any guests there. So it's going to be easier for you to sell to anybody that's wanting this type of bush experience and something a little bit more intimate. Then moving on to our walking safaris, and Anita mentioned that we've got a new video. So we've done a little video that's encompassing everything about the walking safaris, and we're so lucky that we have the areas that we can offer this experience from. So in the past, it's pretty much been limited, you know, your die-hard walking has been limited to the Footsteps camp. There's actually no reason for this, because both of our private concessions, Shinde and Kanana, and also Dinaka, because it's a private conservancy, we have the ability to walk. We have the specialist walking guides. So we have all of the ingredients it takes to be able to provide a great walking safari. So now we are packaging it in a way that is easier for you to sell. You know, I feel that Zim and Zambia, they're really well known for their walking safaris. Botswana less so. And I disagree with that. I don't think that there's a reason why Botswana can't be up there in terms of the walking safari offerings. And that's what we've tasked ourselves with doing. We've also got some cool experiences. So if you want to walk between camps, maybe you want to walk between Shinde and Shinde Footsteps, that's possible. We can do some great excursions out of the sleep out decks. So say you want to go and spend the night at the Kanana sleep out deck and then get up early in the morning and head out on a walking safari with your guide, you can. So for these specialist walking safaris, in terms of booking them, you pick the accommodation that you want to go to, and then you book your specialist walking guide. He will accompany you, you have all the flexibility, and he's there dedicated to do the walking. So this is for somebody that wants to be going out and, you know, spending quite a lot of their activity times out on foot. This doesn't mean that all our other guests through the camps are not able to walk. Absolutely. We still continue to offer that to everybody. Families are also welcome to walk as well. So that's enough of my voice. I'm going to hand you over to one of our specialist guides. He's featured in the video. It's less than a minute long, so enjoy.
There are lots of ways to experience the magic of a Botswana safari. But if you really want to connect with nature,
you need to step out on foot.
Today, a walking safari is like traveling back in time to a bygone age, when human visitors were rare and wildlife reigned supreme. There is time to appreciate the little things as well as the big, to soak up the sounds of the bush and marvel at natural wonders. A chance to explore and wander paths where no one has gone before. To see animals in their own terms and walk in their footsteps. To learn about our heritage and how our ancestors lived in harmony with nature. To reinvigorate your senses and feel alive.
Oops. So that was Noah that you saw there in the video. He's one of our specialist walking guides, and I hope you've all been converted to walking enthusiasts after that video. Then moving on to our family safaris. I think it's fair to say that we've been quite well known for our family safaris. And we not only have the infrastructure on the ground, such as the family tents, the child-friendly, family-friendly activities, but also in terms of our policies, you know, in terms of the reduced children's rates and everything that's on offer. So we take children from the age of 7 in all of our properties. Kids can do all of the activities. Obviously, all of our activities are tailored to the individual guests. So we're tailoring activities to our youngest guests being 7-year-olds, and we tailor activities to to our oldest guests. It's all, you know, really specific to the individuals, their ages, their interests, and so forth. So we are able to offer family safaris in all of our camps. Our Young Explorers Specialist Family Guides. So how this works is you can book them to go with you, and they will travel with the family right the way through their itinerary, so they can go to the numerous Ker Downey camps. It's lovely to have that continuity. We find that families really form this special bond, this special connection with their guide, and it's great that he can be there with them through their whole experience. So we have that on offer. You pick and choose the different properties and he will go with you. So that brings us to the end of kind of highlighting what makes Ker Downey Botswana unique and the different elements. I just want to touch on the camps specifically. I don't want you to go away wondering what properties we have. I do want you to go away wanting more and wanting to learn more about the camps, but just to kind of give you a little flavor of each of them individually. So that's just the map, so you can reacquaint yourself with where we are. And then this is just a summary of the different camps. So starting off with Shinde, we rebuilt this during COVID. It's a private concession. It's a land and water-based property. So we offer the full range of activities, an incredible wildlife area. It's where the wetland meets the dryland. Shinde Enclave, this is something that's on our upgrade menu. So if you are a small group of friends or family and you want more exclusivity, Shinde Enclave is actually a camp within a camp. So you can book this out, and this is your own little mini main area where you'll do all of your meals, got your own fire deck, and that's based out of Shinde. You've got the flexibility of different rooming configurations. So you can use the family tent or you can use twin double tents as well. Shinde Footsteps, this is the smaller, more rustic camp. We take maximum 6 people here, and this is the camp that's currently being rebuilt and will be ready for the 1st of April next year. We've also introduced a guide tent there as well. So if you are wanting to bring your own groups out as a tour leader, then we have accommodation for you. Okuti, this is the camp that's in the Moremi Game Reserve in the Dinaka area. Really unique style and architecture, beautiful camp, located on a permanent channel. So you've got a river that runs in front of the main area and all of your rooms. And the Moremi Game Reserve is just world renowned for its wildlife. You've got a huge, vast area, very diverse area that you can explore both on game drives and on the boat cruises. And just adding on to a little bit about Okuti, I think it's my favorite boat excursion, going out to the Dinaka Lagoon. I always recommend you go in the afternoon. You get to do sundowners out there. Then Kanana, very similar to Shinde, completely different sides of the delta. So Shinde and Kanana are our busiest camps. You can combine them together. In fact, you can combine all of our camps together, or you can switch sail between the two. It's also a private concession, offers the full range of activities, incredible wildlife. In fact, we've got a film crew there. It's such good wildlife. They're making documentaries. A couple of unique things to Kanana is the Kanana Heronry, and we also have a sleep out deck there as well. Then going down to the central Kalahari, we have Dinaka. It's the newest camp in our portfolio. Different activities down there. So we've got the educational walk with the Sand Bushman guides. We've got an underground photographic bunker. We've also got a sleep out deck there. And something that we don't put in writing anywhere, we've actually got rhino on the property as well. So that's just a little bit of a summary on the camps. And then I've got 2 final points that I want to share with you guys before we head into the Q&A. I imagine it's quite unorthodox to say that our rates are a unique selling point, but they truly are. We're incredibly competitively priced. We also have long stay rates, which just make it even more affordable. So if you want those rates, please reach out to us and we'll happily provide them for you. And then last but not least, I just want to touch a little bit on logistics. How do you get in and around the camps? You know, Ker Downey Botswana really is somewhere that you can come and fulfill all of your needs in Botswana. So we've got all these different properties in different areas, and we also provide the flights for you as well. So Safari Air is our sister company. You just get your guests to Mount Okasani and we'll take care of them the rest of the way. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. I do just want to leave you with a little video of Shinde after the rebuild. It's also less than a minute long, but I just thought we'd end on a little bit of a high note and some great sightings. So once the video is finished, we can head into Q&A. Awesome. Well, that takes us to the end of the presentation. So I'm just going to go over and see if we have any questions.
We don't have any questions yet, Fran, but I have written saying to everyone, if you did have any questions, then please do write them in the Q&A box. And Fran's here ready to answer them. But hopefully it means you've covered everything in your presentation. But as Fran said, we do have a more detailed webinar recording, which will actually forward onto you as well as this one, which does delve deeper into Botswana and the camps and goes into each camp in more detail. So if you wanted to find out about a particular camp, we can send that through to you, and we will send it through to you as part of the follow-up. And also for those of you who aren't so familiar with Botswana or need a bit of a refresher, then a bit of a plug for our sister company, the Africa Hub, which has a really good overview of Botswana as a destination, different seasons, the different areas, and it's about a 45-minute long webinar, but cut down into geographical areas. So if you want to know particularly about the Delta or the Kalahari, you can then click onto that area and learn about that. Roz is saying, please can you give us a quick overview of the seasons? Well, that's quite hard to do it quickly, isn't it? that's probably one of the most commonly asked questions we ask. That's a great question. Thanks Roz for asking that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a go. I think one of the, seasons in Botswana, it could be a whole series on its own. But just to simplify it all, we have, traditionally we have a green season and a dry season. So green season being when we have our summer rains, and then dry season, we actually have no rains pretty much from April all the way to November. It is very, very dry in Botswana. And that encompasses the peak season. I quite like, one of the ways of explaining it is when we have, in terms of the flood, because that's also an extra dynamic to add into the seasons. So one way of explaining it is when we have water in the sky, when we have rain in the sky, it's dry on the ground, as in the flood is very, very low, but we have lots of rain. So during our green season, it's green from the rain. And then when the flood arrives, so we have a lot of water on the ground when the flood arrives. Remember, in Botswana, the flood is an annual occurrence. It's celebrated. It's not a natural disaster like it is elsewhere in the world. So when the flood arrives, it brings life. It's a great time in Botswana, and that's kind of like May, June time. The flood arrives, and that's when there's no water in the sky. That's our dry season. So I hope that hasn't confused you even more, but that's just a couple of points on the seasons. The best game viewing is in the middle of our dry season, because the vegetation dries back, the wildlife is congregated around the water sources, therefore it's a little bit easier to find. We are really lucky, we have permanent wildlife right the way through the year. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just during the green season, the vegetation is a little bit thicker, so sometimes it's more of a challenge to get the great sightings. So I hope that answers that question.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Fran. We've got a Q&A from Elsie saying any festive specials for locals and residents.
Yeah, we do have local rates, puller rates and rand rates. So if you have SADC guests, get in touch with us and we can assist with that, definitely.
And one point I want to just elaborate on is one of the key things we find when selling Ker Downey is that Botswana is quite a difficult destination to sell in terms of, exactly like Ros just asked, in terms of the seasons, when's best to go, but also in terms of the price point. It is obviously, the whole approach to tourism in Botswana is high yield, low impact, which does mean that it can be quite an expensive destination. But Ker Downey, the prices are very, very affordable. And also because they have this, you know, multi-center offering, it means you literally have one point of contact, and that's Muriel, our very efficient reservations manager, and her team, and they can book an entire safari for you for Botswana. So it makes the whole booking process a lot more simple. And we actually have created, I know we've got sample itineraries, which we'll send through to you as well. So you literally, all you have to do is look at that, and then you can have a really good overview of Botswana by booking through Muriel in reservations. I think that is the end of the questions. That means you've obviously covered it very well. Thanks, Fran. But thanks to you all again for joining us. And as I said, it is being recorded. I will send you a copy of the recording plus any other information, our agent's link, which has really useful information, and that stunning video as well. But thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. And Fran, as usual, great presentation. And thanks so much for joining us from Botswana.
Thank you, everyone. Keep well and have a great evening from Botswana.